I was sued in 2020 after I was called a racist. I responded with an equally defamatory slur, which was to call the people that called me a racist a paedophile. Mainly to, as a rhetorical flourish, to say, listen, you can't call me a racist because I'm not one. And B, it destroyed my life. My serious harm was ignored in the first trial. So it has to go back to a retrial. Welcome to another episode of Fox and Father. With me, the Fox, and him,
the Father.
It's a show where Calvin tries to tutor me in the ways of righteousness. And he succeeded.
Okay.
I think.
Congratulations.
So good to see you, buddy. Just for the sake of everyone, we're recording this on Friday. Both of us in the States. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been driving down in the car with Larry, and you know, Larry is as homophobic as you are, so I'm pretending to be...
You mean Christian? With Christian.
I've been pretending to be a gay Tennessee guy for the whole drive down, and Larry's been really upset by that.
I've been to Nashville. I've seen how gay it is.
There's some pretty blue head stuff going on down here.
Yeah.
Anyway, cheers, brother.
Cheers. I've had a beer. I never drink when I work, but I figured you'd flake.
You thought I'd flake?
For viewers who don't know, Laurence has to flake there's always something. Every single week there's a reason to flake.
Well, it's not a reason to flake. It's usually that I've got we need to have a conversation about this because this needs to happen. And anyway, let's not bore the listeners with my boring life. Let's bore the listeners with our boring lives. How are you, bro?
I'm good. I just had fish and chips, and I've decided I'm going to grow some Morris Pipers.
What, Maris Pipers? Come on, dude. How long have you been in America for? You've been in America for 10 minutes and you call them Morris Pipers already. Next, you're going to be start saying things like, I may cook them with herbs.
Herbs with no H, yeah. No, because, I love this country, but they don't know what chips are. And I went for fish and chips. Fish was great, battered fish. They even had malt vinegar, which is rare out here. But there were fries, and there were seasoned fries. I'm like, this is not chips. They have to be fluffy and fat and double fried, preferably in tallow or lard. None of this vegetable oil stuff. They don't get it. So I'm going to romantic
multiculturalism.
Lard, absolutely. So here at the church, during Lent, we have fish fries. They've got a really good, professional kitchen. Obviously, we won't have time for next year, but for the year after. So from this January, I'm going to get the seeds. I'm going to grow some Morris Pipers. I'm going to do a fish fry.
Morris Piper. M-A-R-I-S.
Morris
Piper.
Okay, Morris Pipers. But to the Americans who are watching and they don't get this, and they're like, what, fries or chips, right? No. If you went to England and you asked for a burger, a hamburger, and you got a sausage patty in it instead of a beef patty, they look the same. They're both meat, but it's not a burger, is it? That's what it's like when you come over here and you ask for fish and chips and you get seasoned French fries.
All right. Well, I'm glad we've worked our way through that.
In another life, I would have been a food blogger, absolutely. But so this week I did a Turning Point USA event at Grand Valley State University, and that was really good. It was good to see so many far right wing people in a liberal city such as. We had a good time. Last night I was at a little event with the Antiochian Church. The night before that I was with the Roman Catholic Church, so doing my ecumenical thing. It's been a good time in Grand Rapids, but I'm more excited to hear, how are you?
I'm good. I gave a talk yesterday, or was in conversation with, perhaps would be a better description, in a church in one of the sort of not mega but extremely large churches in Bama, and I just when it comes to speaking, I always want to say exponentially, but it's not the right word. Come on, word. Extemporaneously. I keep missing that. When it comes to sort of speaking extemporaneously, with Englishness, there's a reservedness with your audience, but the Americans are just like, say what you think. Please, please say what you think. We die to hear what you think. So I did that yesterday. We flew over on Monday, and Larry Taunton, for those who watch WTF, where Lizzie and I are staying with Larry, and he's doing his typical thing of dragging us around the whole of the South. And we're going to a conference tomorrow, and we're doing various things. But this morning, well, actually not this morning, judgments are, to give a bit of background. I mean, I think most people know the background. I was sued in 2020 after I was called a racist, and I responded with an equally defamatory slur, which was to call the people that called me a racist a paedophile. Mainly as a rhetorical flourish to say, listen, you can't call me a racist because I'm not one, and B, it destroyed my life. I mean, in many ways, it's actually, and we can get into this because I'd be really interested in getting into this. In many ways, it's absolutely made my life. I would never have met my wife if it hadn't been for this. I probably would not have been great mates with you if it hadn't been because of all these things. So I'm very grateful for the blessings of it all, actually. But the life that I had, which was very comfortable and very, was very well paid, and I was, I really loved doing what I did. That was destroyed overnight following a set of tweets that were put out by some pretty cruel, mean people, in my opinion. And anyway, they
I was
sued
more
me.
moderate back then. I remember thinking, you can't just call people pedophiles, even if you're trying to make a point.
Yeah.
I don't think I would say that.
I know, it's really interesting because language has become so much more important. And so I countersued them. And the way that the judge, quite rightly, in my view, which is one of the parts that I've lost in the defamation case, my lawyers will be very angry about me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Was
Are you sure? Because
well, I wanted to be mean back, right? I wanted to apply the same level of horrible insult back. So, I think it was a defamatory statement to say to call someone that, even if it was a rhetorical flourish. And it was a rhetorical flourish, and it was very obviously a rhetorical flourish, but I said it. Right. The way that the judge in the original trial, who'd been recently promoted to the media and communications list, the head of the media and communication list, civil servant, state apparatchik, as far, in my opinion. You're going to hear a lot of the words "in my opinion" tonight, because it's important that I make that clear. The way she got around dealing with my counterclaim, which really should have been the claim, by being clever, was say, why are you calling me a racist? What evidence do you have of this? And the way I got around that, the way she got around that, was by saying, well, Laurence Fox didn't suffer any serious harm from them calling them a racist, therefore I don't need to deal with his counterclaim, which to me was egregious.
It's their opinion.
Yeah, but it wasn't their opinion, because for one of them, she literally couldn't have stated it more as a piece of fact. In the case of Nicola Thorpe, ironically and interestingly, each and every one of those claimants has vanished from Twitter in the last few days, except Nicola Thorpe, whose tweets are now protected. So the judge doesn't deal with my counterclaim, and also refuses to do the very thing that I wanted to happen in the first place, which is to define the meaning of the word racist. Because there's a woke meaning of the word racist, which is if you don't agree with me, you're a racist, which is
power dynamic. It's a struggle between whites and non-whites, yeah.
Yeah, which is bullshit without wishing to put it. And then there's the real definition of racism, which is discriminating against someone based on the color of their skin or where they come from. It's like, it's ridiculous. And everyone knows it too. And I knew it at the time that I did it. And very interesting that those that goaded me into doing it haven't had a single message from any of them. A point raised by you previously and a point reinforced by Lizzie today. But having said that, I have had some calls from some very, very lovely people and some very, very important people today to congratulate, and that's been very lovely. So we appeal this decision, and the appeal took place sometime. I mean, I lose track. It's been 5 years now. We had the appeal, and I was very negative and pessimistic about the possibility of the outcome of success of this appeal. But we find that we win 3 out of the 5 arguments. One of the arguments being the one I've just said, the one that we lost on, which was, it was a defamatory statement, according to them. I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree. I'm just saying that's how it turned out. And in appeals, what you do is you lob in a whole series of grounds, and you have ones that are strong and ones that are less strong. And the one that really mattered was, did I suffer any serious harm
well, of course
to my reputation? I lost my entire career.
The life was turned upside down. Right.
Yeah. And the judges...
So if anyone finds that not the case, they must have either been really dishonest or blind.
Or...
It's my opinion.
I mean, I'm like, there's so many rabbit holes I've learned about the British judiciary. Anyway, let's keep a best faith and a gracious and a happy argument on this, because I don't want to be bitter about this in any way at all, because I don't think it serves me. I don't think it serves anybody to be bitter about suffering. We've talked about this before. I think you should be grateful that God blesses you with the suffering that you go through, because he feels that you warrant, you have the character and the mettle to deal with the suffering that he feels he can give you. So, yes, on Wednesday, you get what's called an embargoed judgment. And that means you get to read the judgment. You and your legal team get to read judgment. No one else does. Lizzie doesn't get to. None of my friends. No one gets to understand. Gets to know what's in it except me. It's very unsettling, So you're reading this judgment. You're going, "Oh my goodness!" The Court of Appeal have turned around. The Court of Appeal had the right to turn around and say this needs to be retried, without saying that I'd suffered serious harm. They didn't need to put their elbows in there. They didn't need to. They just need to say that they erred. But I think I wouldn't be being hyperbolic to say that the Court of Appeal came back and really, I mean, shredded was a word that was used by some legal professionals I spoke to, the original trial judge's judgment. And at the same time,
the bit I liked was the judge's treatment was unfair and inadequate. It's like that's fiery.
It's pretty hard to say of your own colleague who you've just promoted. And the judgment, for any of you who are interested enough to read it, is littered with these wrong, inaccurate, all of that stuff. And they basically said he suffered serious harm. So serious harm was ignored. My serious harm was ignored in the first trial. So it has to go back to a retrial where Nicola Thorpe is going to have to sit there and explain and prove that I am a racist. That's what she's going to have to do. And I wish her all the best, actually, and I really genuinely do, because I'm like, I hope you can put together a good argument for this. Because if you don't, then the consequences are going to be not good for you.
The argument hasn't really been, I don't like him. That's it. That's what you're a racist means. I don't like you.
But it doesn't, to an ordinary person, it doesn't mean that. It means you're a racist. Right? We all know that. So I made a decision, privately, and then once the judgment came out with Lizzie, that this is an opportunity now to say, A, look, be grateful for the blessings that have been given to all of us. God-given blessings, which are all around you. To say, don't gloat, don't be angry, don't do any of these things, don't do any of these things. This is, no, well, it's thanks to my wife, so I take zero credit for it. Be gracious and carry on pursuing the truth and justice, which is what I intend to do moving forward. The media have, in the main, slightly honestly reported it, but not particularly. But essentially, we've won the right to have the trial we already paid for. I've already paid for it. And they've slashed in half the damages awarded to the other two claimants. Let's hope they've not spent it on...
grossly disproportionate or something like that.
Grossly disproportionate or something like that. And which they were, because the damages that were awarded to them were the top end of the damages you get in an industrial accident if you lost a leg, an eye, were brain damaged, something like that. You know, it's incredible. Bearing in mind that one of the claimants, Simon Blake, went on to be promoted, hugely promoted. And the drag queen is still angle grinding in front of children, I'm sure. And so it doesn't really matter. No one really knows. I don't really know what happened to Nicola Thorpe or care particularly, other than the fact she's a human being and she deserves to be loved as well. So, yeah, there we are. And I was very surprised because I was deeply pessimistic about what this judgment would mean and what it means now. And I was watching, and obviously I can't tell anyone. And I know she has parliamentary privilege, the deputy leader of the Liberal Democrats, whatever her name is, silly woman. You know, she won't stand up for the mutilation of children, but she will call someone who disagrees with her political opponents racist, far-right, extremist hate preachers and all this sort of stuff. This language, this rhetoric, which destroys really decent conversation. Yeah. And I was sitting there going, I know you got parliamentary privilege, but you're going to say this on an LBC interview at some point. And she did, true to form. So I really hope, and she said about Tommy Robinson, and this judgment means... I very rarely look at my comments, as you know, on social media, because I just, you know, it's a shame because some comments are really, really nice, but there's a lot of them, and I don't want my world filled with negativity. I don't want that. And I was scrolling through and I didn't find a single comment that said, but you are a racist. Not one. So the importance of this judgment, and the thing, while it's a good thing for me, and it's a very positive thing for me, it wasn't a fight I was having for me. I was having it for everybody else as well, which is, you're not just going to shut us up by calling us racist. It's not going to work. And I'm so thrilled. And that's sort of...
Sorry, go.
No, sorry. I should come to the end of it because I'd rather hear what you've got to say. But it kind of cemented in my mind a few things. One is never give up. Never give up. Ever. Until you're not breathing, where you have no choice but to give up. Never, ever give up. If you believe in your heart that something is right, never give up. Believe that the truth will always come out in the end. And be grateful for the suffering because it teaches you something. And if something good comes your way, be gracious. Don't gloat and don't go, ha, fuck you. You know, don't, because that doesn't help. And the final thing I've learned is that I had a conversation in the car down here with a very, very senior person, who I can't even say anything other than a very senior person. Who had dinner with the president and the vice president recently. And the message was sent to us and to others down the line is, you can push and push harder on the issues that you think are challenging Britain, because they are sick to the back teeth of what Starmer and what the establishment and what the prevailing orthodoxy is doing in Britain. And I thought, okay, so that's permission to go harder, then it's permission to be more intelligent about the way you do it, less Lawrence Fox down the pub vibe, and more, okay, if we're going to go after Islam, we need to do this carefully, precisely, and properly, rather than me going, go home, back to Mirpur, we'll build you an airport, see you later. Do you know what I mean? So I've learned a huge number of things, and I'm so grateful. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking because I could just rattle on boringly for hours, and I've already spoken for about 15 minutes. So can you talk now?
Just congratulations. It's good news, finally. You've been in battle mode ever since I met you. And it's been a while, so it's good that you've got a win, finally, and you can have you can unwind a little bit from it. Not that you've not got other battles to fight, but still, it's good to get something, bit of reprieve. I hope the other side learns from this. The fact that you can't just go around calling people racists, it means something. Words mean something. And unless you have evidence, unless you can prove it, it's not just about your opinion. You're stating something as a fact, and that affects people's lives. It affects their jobs, their livelihoods. It affects their family, their relationships. And you've been a prime example of that. I don't think they will learn anything from it, but I hope they do. I've kind of switched tact. I've stopped caring about that now. I think I was just about to say Threads. I find far worse than X. I don't check Threads as much as I check X because it's hostile, it's toxic, it's nasty, it's full of blue sky blue or whatever it's called people, right? The liberals who think they're nice, but they're obviously horrible people. And so whenever I do go on there, it's like, you're racist. Like, okay. And they're like, are you the Nazi priest? Yeah. Like they have nothing left. Which you're like, yeah, sure, that's me. And like, what's your point? Like, I've given up caring or defending or battling against them or batting it away. It's irrelevant what they think. Their words don't mean what they used to mean. Like they've adopted the language so much that whatever they say is irrelevant. They've tried to weaponize our language to the point that it's no longer, we're not speaking the same language anymore.
I agree. I'm just going to stop you there for 1 second. I felt that way, but if I went back to the first principle is language is powerful. Yeah. The Bible is full of things about the tongue is a sword, and it's just loaded with that. And for me, the first principle was like, don't accuse someone of something they're not, and expect not to have recourse to it. Sorry. But I also was in your world of going, fine, if you're just going to call me a racist all the time, then just call me a racist all the time. I don't care. I'll just move on. Sorry. So carry on.
No, that's it. That's a good point. I just know where we go from this, because they have tried to weaponize everything. Islamophobic, xenophobic, racist, transphobic, anti-Semitic. All these words literally mean nothing anymore. So we can't engage in good faith. We can't have open dialogue. We can't have debate because we don't have a shared language. There's no commonality there. So I don't know how we move past it.
Well, not with 30-06 deer hunting rounds at a conservative university into a man who came unarmed to shake people's hands. And that is why the principle of free speech and open inquiry is so important, because if you can't talk and you can't agree on the meaning of very simple words like racist or paedophile, these two words are very simple. We know what they mean. If you can't agree on that, you don't, as you say, you don't have a language to talk to those that disagree with you politically with. And therefore, the only thing you can resort to is vengeance and violence.
Well, that's why they do it, because the whole purpose of them weaponizing our language is to silence us, to censor us, to shut us down. Right? They've never wanted to engage. There's Charlie Kirk's a prime example, because he's somewhere in good faith, goes there to engage. They don't want to engage, and they'll call you the names. If calling you the names doesn't work, they'll literally just shoot you. This is the problem. We've all received death threats on the right, all of us. Usually I shrug them off. I had one this week since our last recording. Then again, I shrugged off. This crazy person came to...
No, but seriously, how does it... Okay, do me a favour. describe the death threat, and then be really honest about how it made you feel. Because I don't think normal people, so I think a lot of the things that you and I are battling and we do publicly, a lot of people would be completely floored by a death threat. We've become kind of used to them. So can you do the audience a favor, describe the death threat and describe how it really made you feel? And also, if it made you feel whatever, I'm used to these, what it would have made you feel the first time you got one?
The first time was quite nerve-wracking because it's like, whoa, this is bad. But then you get into a habit of, because it's usually by email or via snail mail, like through the post or through the mail, it's very impersonal. This is easy to shrug it off. This last week, I had after church, someone turned up to church, and so throughout human history, there's been a correlation between mental health and demonic possession, right? So I'm not for 1 minute saying that everyone who has a mental health concern has some kind of demonic possession. I'm not saying that. And I'm saying that's the language we used to use to address people with obvious mental illness, and we used to say there's some kind of disconnect between them and God, and something needs to be exercised, right? And now we live in a world full of medicine and therapy, and we have a very secular perspective to look at these things. But we used to recognize that there's a spiritual element to this. And so something's off balance or off kilter. Now we say it's a chemical imbalance. Have more chemicals. Of course, we're treating the symptoms and not the problem. But we used to see that there's a problem in the person's soul. And so someone turned up after church, and I could see that there's clearly something off balance with this person. From in a Hollywood perspective, you'd see like demons swarming around. Like there's clearly something going on. And then the language that was being used, and I'm trying not purposely not to divulge who this person is, because I've since found out that there are connections and all kinds of stuff's going on, and there's a detective looking into it. But the point is, the language that was used was, you've got to be careful. You better pray to your God, because on this date, something's going to happen to you. And to hear that in person, it's not the nicest feeling in the world. But my initial reaction was, this person's clearly unwell, like spiritually and or mentally, and needs help. In fact, my advice to them immediately after that was, I met them out around the church, not in the church building. My advice was, go into church, like sit in the back pews if you want. It's quiet in there. Absorb the silence. Just listen. Like, listen for our Lord. He will speak to you. He loves you. So my immediate concern was for their mental and spiritual well-being. Of course, they didn't want to take that up. They didn't want to enter the boundaries of the church for, I would say, obvious reasons. And they stormed off and left. And again, I shrugged it off, because you do with these things. It's like a coping mechanism, but it's not nice. But the next morning, we woke up to graffiti on the church wall, on the door, where I was speaking to this person, that said, "The devil was here, F you." I'm like, okay, so maybe they will go through with their threat, maybe they won't. But the point is, they're willing to actually do something. They're willing to enact an act of hostility towards me and the church, and therefore I took it much more seriously. I am now armed. The police are involved, and we've got extra security measures and extra cameras in the church and all kinds of things, which you have to do because you have to take caution. But you
do need to be armed, and you do need to go to the gun range, and you do need to know how to do that, how to handle yourself. And I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you're very convinced
I am armed.
About that.
Most of my congregation are armed. I've got a security team here who are armed. The liberal laws in Michigan are generally liberal, but there is still a Second Amendment. And actually, in churches, the leader of the church gets a lot of say in this kind of security scenarios. That we are good, we're protected, but at the same time, there's a darkness that is becoming so obvious and unashamed and unambiguous and just kind of out there. The devil is not hiding anymore. He's letting himself be seen by people.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? I was listening on the way up here on, for what an American is like, oh, we're just going on a short drive to Nashville. It's for like 5 hours. You're like, what? 5 hours? It's cool.
I drove 4.5 hours around to Wisconsin the other day. It was good fun.
I mean, I kind of love it, and I'm looking at all the trucks, and I'm falling in love. And it is the Chevy Silverado.
Oh yeah,
that it's like a Camaro who's got obesity problems. But I did think to myself, we were listening to Billy Graham. There's a Billy Graham radio channel on Sirius XM. All of his speeches, all of his sermons, and Lizzie and I have been having conversations about, like, because we had a little row after the good news came, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. We never really row. So I was like, we had a little row, and it was kind of interesting. And then I said, isn't it interesting that the Billy Graham thing comes in, that Billy Graham goes, the whole world is run by the devil. Like the entire world.
Getting retarded.
But what Billy Graham was saying, which I thought was kind of amazing, was like the devil's really kind of good at it. Because I think I'm kind of on the devil's getting retarded vibe, but actually he is kind of powerful. So you realize that this whole expanse of skyline out here over there that I can see, and you think, yeah, really good moment, and then you have like a little row with someone, and you're like, that's the devil going, I want to get in. And your experience of having this person come to your church, which it's now bedding in, is that someone's going to come around and threaten you, and that's the only way they can resolve it, is by violence and mayhem. But what I want to move on to, if we've covered this, excuse me, that's the whatever this Tennessee beer is.
Let me just add. A lot of this comes down to realities, because the left, it's not even right versus left, it's good versus evil. The evil side live in their own realities, and they have their own truths, their own subjective truths. They've been told for so long they can live in their own reality and make up their own truth. Remember, we affect that by saying we are not subscribing to your reality and we don't believe in your truth. We must be removed as an objective because we are in the way. We are obstructing their reality and their truth. And that's what it all comes down to. We've got to remind people that there is a universal objective reality. There's a universal objective truth. His name is Jesus Christ. And our job is to show him to everyone through the way we live, through our faith, through our good works, but also by introducing people to him.
What's so funny about the woke people and why they're so stupid in so many ways? I mean, not stupid, I don't want to be mean about them, but misguided, is that even in their own debauchery, they have to acknowledge and demand acceptance of the natural ordered God-created binary. So a trans person insists they're a woman. You're like, well, I thought there's no such thing as a woman. You can have a penis and be a woman, but they insist. So even in their delusion, even in their absolute insane delusion, they still ascribe to the truth of God's law as laid out really early on in the Bible. And I find that, therefore, one has to feel nothing really but compassion for them. But as you say, they're very, very dangerous people because they will kill anyone that doesn't agree with them. And we're seeing this more and more across the world. And I think, and I know that one gets flattered by good moments, and, one shouldn't allow the experience of the world to dominate your perseverance. You should persevere, and regardless of the environment, towards the truth. You cannot kill the truth. It's impossible. So their mission is flawed. The devil is, therefore, however strong the devil is, he's weak. And then you end up with
just by killing Charlie Kirk is a prime example of what we were saying. They've made 1,000 Charlie Kirks. I was at Turning Point USA here in Michigan this week. Next week, I'm at Alabama. Like, there are lots of other people doing this. We're all going around the colleges speaking, doing exactly what he was doing, because they killed one. And so 1,000 of us spawn up in his place.
Yeah, it's the same with the woke hydra. You cut off one head, another one will come. So we end up in Britain, and I think this actually, they're doing our work for us. Some foreign man called Ayub Khan. Welcome. He tweets, "I welcome the news." Theon, if we could put this up on the screen, that'd be great. But I know you want to rush this one through, so if you can't, it doesn't matter. I'll just read it. "I welcome the news that Maccabi Tel Aviv, Israeli football team fans, will not be permitted to watch the match at Aston Villa exclamation mark. Well done to all those that signed our petition. In this short time, don't forget the guy who's called Ayub Khan. In this short time, Jews are being banned from watching football games in Britain. And if these woke people don't realize what this is and what Islam is, which is no different. Islam, to me, is no different from the ideology of National Socialism when it came to Hitler. It's exactly the same thing, Islam, and it's a death cult. It wants dead Jews. It loves it. It feeds off it. That's what I feel. And then you get Iqbal Muhammad MP. These are independent MPs. We're going to have a lot of these at the next general election, by the way. A lot. Thank you for all that put the safety of Aston Villa fans, Birmingham residents in the British Republic above the Zionist and political pressure to let Israeli hooligans and terrorists run riot in our country. I have reached the point with Islam where I'm not sure I want a single Mohammedan in Britain. Not one. I've reached that point. Is that bad? Is that bad?
No.
I don't want, and I know that Britain should be a free, secular, and liberal democracy because my vote.
No, it should be free, secular,
no, I know. I'm just telling you what the people the people that try and drag me into centrism always talk about. We are a Christian country, therefore the celebration of Jew hatred, which is, and we can have our own conversations about the Jews and whatever and all that sort of stuff, but English people should not be in the middle of a sectarian war between Muslims and Jews. We shouldn't. It just shouldn't happen. And I'm I'm like, get them out. And the very important person I spoke to today, who had, with Trump and Vance, said the other thing that you've got to deal with, hang on, let me just remember exactly what was said. Yeah, was that, I can't say it because it will wreck the planet. Damn it. But it was advice. Basically, I was getting advice, which is being dribbled down from up above, about what the next stages of Unite the Kingdom need to be. And I can't reveal what they are. But the overwhelming vibe was like, there's national, first of all, and then international sympathy for our frustration at what is happening in our own country. And there's no accident that the people that are calling for Jews to be banned from watching football games are all called Iqbal or Muhammad. It's not about anti-Semitism, because it's not. It's about Muslims, or not Muslims, it's about Islam coming into Britain and going, we're flexing our muscles, Jews not allowed, sorry. Okay. And I know one can, and I'm very able to hold two thoughts in my head at the same time, which are that one can be very, very brutal about the way that Israel has behaved in certain ways in regards to the Palestinian situation. But fundamentally, the global problem is not Israel, the global problem is Islam, I would say. Seeing as there are only 14 million Jews in the world.
Global problem. So the point is, we should be able to say that we care about England first, and we don't want to pick a side in the Middle Eastern war.
No.
People can choose a side if they want to, but the whole United Kingdom thing is going to fall apart now because it's suddenly become all about Israel, and people that we admire and love are going over there and making it all about Israel. It's absurd. England first should be a thing. Why do you have to side with the Mohammedans or the Jews? Why can't you just side with Christ? I don't get it. It's a shame. It's divisive on purpose, but not in a good way. It's divisive, and it's dividing the English against each other so that the English can't unite against the establishment, against the elite, against the people oppressing them, persecuting them. It's stupid what's happening.
Okay, so let's broaden that out. There are 14 million Jews in the world, right? There are 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, all right? One is materially and practically and logistically a greater threat to our society than the other, you can say that there are, one can take the position, and they do. William Shakespeare did in The Merchant of Venice, the position that there are in secret positions of power, there are Jews that are doing a lot of stuff. I'm not going to dispute that or argue the point that it's not true. I'm just saying there are 1.5 billion people who are allowed to marry many times and have many, many children who want to come to our country, and we seem to be applauding.
Why do they want to come to our country? Who are
giving free stuff?
Who are the Bolsheviks who have led them to our country? Who are the people that are using them as a broom against us? Yes, there is a brute force threat from the Mohammedans, absolutely, and that needs to be addressed. But also, so does the Bolsheviks. So do the Bolsheviks. So do the people using and abusing them and displacing them, so they have nowhere to go but to our homeland. There is. I wouldn't say that Islam is a bigger threat. I'll say they are different, very, very different threats, and they both need to be addressed.
So, yeah, of course. But I said that you can hold
Jews, and this is not all Jews. Of course, there are conservative Jews in Israel, just getting them by being Israeli. But there are liberal elite Jews in the West who are the ones that run Hollywood, who are the ones that run the porn industry, who are the ones that run the banks, and are doing things that subvert our culture. And it's not good, and it needs to be addressed. But the moment you try to say that, it's like, oh, anti-Semitism. And again, it's a weapon.
No, I would. The only reason I would push back against that is numbers. So I would say, of course, there are. You look at the film credits of a lot of Hollywood films, and there's Stein at the end of a lot of names. But that.
So this is still Greek things.
I know. Okay, but also, Calv, hold two thoughts in your mind at the same time.
I do. Both threats are held in my mind at the same time.
Don't expect Steven Spielberg to make a film about the Armenian genocide. You expect Steven Spielberg to make a film about Schindler's List and all that sort of stuff. It's not about saying the Jews are wonderful. I'm not here to say the Jews are wonderful. I'm talking about the national threat that Britain faces. And I don't think the national threat Britain faces from the Jews. I agree with you that, like, choosing side Jew is not really our business. I'm particularly sensitive. I basically apply playground rules to the Jewish situation.
All the things in our culture, from homosexualities to transsexualism, transgenderism, all these things come from a certain place, right? A certain demographic group of liberal elite people that want to subvert our Christian culture and undermine it. And that is a threat. That is a problem because it's tearing our society apart.
But socialism is...
We're not having children because we don't see families as important, and or we see alternative families as just as important, clearly not. Or we're killing off our own children, which is an evil that has, again, been subverted and pushed upon us. This idea that abortion is a good thing. Like, everywhere you look, our entire culture is being torn apart from the inside by a subversive ideology that is harmful for us. And that's just as bad as mass migration from Mohammedan nations that obviously have a very culture to our own.
I'll tell you where I'll sort of kind of trickle my thought in, because I'm trying to get a thought across to you. Marx was pretty clear on religion being the opium of the masses. Okay. The Jews, I think, have got like white privilege problems. So they've got like Jewish privilege problems. So they think, well, we killed Christ, we're terrible, we're really bad. So you get a lot of liberal Jews, and then you get some hardcore, nationalist right-winger Jews who are like, no, we need our homeland, even though it's like, all of the complicated geopolitical stuff. But I think we are the reflection of our society, the effect that the Jewish people have had on our society is to allow the liberalism in that has allowed this complete subsumation of what it is to be, as you say, it's not our problem. It's Britishness. But where I do draw the line is I turn around and I say, I apply playground politics to all of this. And I know that some wonderful academic is going to explain to me why, the lines drawn during the Balfour Declaration, all this stuff, and Zionistic, as Dr. Scholler was writing today, was like, On October 6th, this is not disputed unless you're a complete fruitcake. Like a lot of the people I used to respect, that a lot of people were murdered on October 7th. And I apply the playground rules to it, which is if you start a fight and you massacre innocent people, all of whom, well, not all of whom, but a large proportion of whom were very sympathetic to your cause, and actually why they were so successful in their massacre was because they were massacring the very people that were trying to help them. To cry bully after when people flatten your homeland and kill huge numbers of innocent children, disproportionately kill innocent children, whilst at the same time hiding and not releasing hostages, none of whom are women, by the way, anymore, is stupid. And Trump's position was the right.
But there's nuance there, in that there's evil on both sides of this argument. Destroying 85
on all sides of every argument, according to the Bible, according to the very.
Is obviously wicked. We've addressed that. I think when we said there's never been destruction like that since Dresden, right? It's just not normal in a war. But also, Hamas going in and killing people on October 7th is evil. And then also, as Charlie Kirk was addressing, was there a stand-down order? Because the security around Israel is the best security in the world. And anyone that's been there, I've been there, you can see you just cannot get over. You can't do it. So was there a stand-down order? Did Israel allow it to happen? The government of Israel allow it to happen so they could get their way and flatten Gaza, which is what they've done. And it seems they want to. It's a land grab.
But you have to say that is conjecture, whether it's true or not.
Conjecture.
Yeah, okay, it's a question, and I also think it's a question that should be asked.
But they have stated that they do want to expand the state of Israel. That's not conjecture. They've stated that. And they've taken land in Syria as an example.
But that doesn't make any sense.
It's a constant, I'll tell you Iran is moments away from nuclear weapon. So the US goes in, destroys the nuclear facility, and everyone, even the people who want neocons, are kind of just to stop Iran having nuclear weapons. Just last week, Netanyahu saying the same thing. Iran are moments away from a weapon that could reach the United States. It's like, how often are people going to fall for this? It's the Tony Blair line over and over and over and over on Groundhog.
On that, we 100% agree. You do not just pick the side of Jews in Israel because they're Jews from Israel or Jews.
There shouldn't be any nuclear weapons in the Middle East.
You must have an.
Middle East is so volatile, there should be no nuclear weapons. And this is what one of the American presidents famously said. He didn't want nuclear weapons in Israel, and he was killed for it. And this is a problem. There shouldn't be any nuclear weapons in Iran. There shouldn't be any nuclear weapons in Israel either. The whole region is far too turbulent.
Pakistan have got nuclear weapons, and India have got nuclear weapons. And Pakistan and India have.
I don't think they should have nuclear weapons either.
Well, no, I don't think. Well, ultimately, we're all Jeremy Corbyn. No one should have nuclear weapons. But there's some amazing.
No, I'd be happy with Britain and America having nuclear weapons.
Well, then you're adopting what could very easily be prescribed as a white supremacist position, which is that
Anglo supremacist or.
I knew I'd fall into that leg trap with you.
Yeah, America and Britain.
But what happens when
Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iran? Absolutely.
But why? What happens when?
Pakistan is the terrorist hub of the world. Iran and Israel, the Middle East, is one of the most turbulent parts of the world. Like these places, you can look at it objectively and say they shouldn't have nuclear weapons. We don't need to be like, oh yeah, but all cultures are equal, all nations are equal. No,
I don't think all cultures are equal. I really don't. But I'm saying to you, I think it's even on a practical level.
This is why I do not do podcasts after a beer. One time you and I had a drink when I was podcasting, and remember that I was in a seminary at the time, and I had to apologize for calling a priestess a priestess. I'm like, she was a priestess.
Ultimately, you shouldn't have to apologize for anything, even if you've had a beer. And I do think it's okay, in the spirit of free speech, it's okay. And I think one of the points you're trying to make here, which I think is a good point, is you don't, after 80 years, after the massacre of 6 million of you, you don't get to wear that as a badge of righteousness over every single issue.
Well,
And
it's
I
like
think that's,
weaponizing words. Yeah.
yeah. So therefore, I would agree with that. But at the same time, applying a logistical, practical element to it, other than the kind of really the Hasidic Jews, or but the same could be said for the Amish in a lot of ways. You're not being confronted by the numbers you're being confronted on from Islam, and you're also. I don't think Israel is thinking, I'm going to take over the Middle East, because I don't think Israel could.
No, Israel is literally trying to take over the Middle East. They're open about that. They've said that, and they want to do that. One way to do that is just displace the people and send them all over to us, which is one of the reasons that we're in the mess. You're right, Islam is a problem, but it's becoming over.
So much trouble after this conversation, Calvin. Are you going to be WhatsApping me after this?
This is not about individuals. I probably actually have more Jewish friends than I have Mohammedan friends, but we love the people, even if we don't like their ideology. And I've said throughout this podcast, it's liberal, elite Jews, and I have many many conservative Jewish friends who aren't in that, and they want to. Then they use the same word.
So why do you put the word?
Fight the Bolsheviks. They want to destroy that communist mentality. It's destroying the West.
Why do you put the word Jew on the end then?
Of what?
So you're saying it's liberal elite Jews who want to do
Absolutely.
This. And I'm like,
there's a disproportionate number of Jews who run the porn industry, who run Hollywood, who run the music industry, who people persecuted people like Michael Jackson. Like, we have this status all out there, and people like speak up about it, whether it's MJ or Kanye West.
Would you describe yourself as anti-Semitic?
No. Because I don't hate anyone based on either their race or their ethnicity. I can dislike ideologies, and I dislike the Mohammedan ideology. I think Islam is evil. I think liberal Judaism is a problem, certainly, but it doesn't have to be.
What about Old Testament Judaism? Are you okay with that?
Of course, the Judaism of the Bible was very different to modern Judaism that we see today, and the Talmudic Judaism is a response to Christian.
They killed Jesus, and they don't have a heaven. So, those ideologies, those religions couldn't be more different. So, and Jesus's idea that the sort of trope of Jew, the way that the Jewish people count things, the way that but it comes from the Bible, doesn't it? Because the way that as far as my very, very naive understanding of the Jewish faith is that there isn't a heaven. There's a life that you lead, and that life, there isn't a heaven. There's no promise of heaven in the Old Testament, is there?
Different Jewish tribes believe different things, like the Pharisees. And
I'm just saying, you're a priest, you read the Bible, it doesn't promise heaven. Whereas, so therefore, you're naturally going to start counting the good deeds that you do, and you're right. The protection.
Yeah, you're right. I had this conversation with one of my Jewish friends who said that one of the fundamental differences between modern Judaism and Christianity is that Christians are seeking to be moral for their afterlife to come, and they're preparing themselves for a judgment day. And so there's a very different experience to Jews who live for the here and now, who don't expect a coming judgment day in the same way.
I get very I think it's okay to criticize the Jews, and also I'm really happy to criticize Jews. I just don't think that they're my main worry. Well, I don't care. I have Jewish friends. I don't really have a great deal of Muslim friends anymore, even culturally Muslim friends, because I just turn around and go, Islam's not a religion. It's a poisonous death cult, and I want nothing to do with it, and I want it out of my country. And if you want to go and try your Islamo-socialist fascist experiment somewhere else, good luck. And I think you're totally okay to say Hollywood is a hotbed of porn and Satanism, and who runs Hollywood? The Jews. I think it's okay to say. But what again?
I'm master for it.
Well, I'll say it. Fuck them. I don't care what people think. Free speech matters more. The point is the point is more what is having the most deleterious effect on society.
It's not either or, it's a false dichotomy.
Let's use another example.
Mass Platonism is having as much an effect as the mass migration, both illegal and illegal, from Mohammedans. They're both having detrimental effects on our nation and our way of life.
And you've decided that you think you can blame that on Jews, and I go, well, I can blame that on Tony Blair, and we could probably have an equal argument about that.
I'm not blaming anything on Jews. I'm saying that
my concern is that whether the Jews are right or not, whether the Jews are righteous and better than anyone else, you and I both know that we don't believe any of this stuff, that anyone is better or worse, but we get stuck in not what we get stuck in, but what we truly believe is that do not subsume yourself to an ideology that wants to kill, conquer, and destroy. And somehow Judaism exists in the middle because the meaning is derived from the deed. And again, I'm speaking as someone who with no understanding and no wisdom. The meaning is derived from the life that one leads. Whereas in Christianity, the life that one leads defines, it's like, I find one of the hardest things I find about what Jesus has said in the Sermon on the Mount was, if you look at someone and you want to shag them, or you look at someone and you want to kill them, you've done it already. So that is an exemplar, which is really, really, so what he's saying is you're never going to achieve the thing that you need to aim for, but this is what you need to aim for. You need to aim that high with every single deed of your life, whilst at the same time, when he was in the wilderness for 40 days and the devil promised him the world and all of this sort of stuff, Jesus said, no, I don't want that, because he was offered power. And I think somewhere in the middle sits this strange idea. No one really knows much about Judaism, particularly. I don't know anything about Judaism other than there is no heaven. I know that. And I know that in Islam, it's like just turn everyone into Muslims and they'll be fine. And in Christianity, it's like turn the other cheek. And if you've even thought a bad thought, that's a bad thing. So they're all quite, they all have their own ins and outs and their own flaws. And it's what you believe in. And ultimately, for me, it boils down to the resurrection and it boils down to crucifixion and the resurrection. And that's why I'm a Christian, and that's it. I don't really need to read any more of the Bible than to know that. I think it's so funny that we started off talking about quite a serious issue that I was a bit concerned about talking about because I wanted to be careful, and we've gone into like what I think is a really important conversation. Actually, it's to go, you know what? No, the other thing that we're all taught, and that Genesis teaches and the Jews understand, is that we're all fallen. Each of us are fallen. Whereas, and you know, it says you will work all the days of your life instead of having the paradise that you were promised by God. We, the Christians, were told that deal done between God and man was overcome by the fact that Jesus died for all of our sins. So, you know, true liberalism really should come out of Christianity, but it doesn't, because Christianity is so self-reflective and so about going, I need to think about how I behave, because my behavior it creates meaning. You know, and Jesus' example therefore sets the ultimate example. Anyway, it's really difficult to talk about, and it's, you know, especially after a quite long day. But I'm very happy with this back and forth over this, and I think that if a Jew isn't, then you're asking me to show you observance, which it's not my job to serve you or observe to you in any way. And people who send me. But I'm just going to finish quickly. When I sent you the message, you know, because my Jewish friends who go, oh, isn't it disappointing that Calvin's saying this stuff? I'm like, well, take it up with fucking Calvin then. Yeah. You know, it's like, don't take it up with me.
Yeah. it's the most woke ideology in the world, because one slight bit of criticism is like, oh, you are this, you are that, how dare you, oh, what's happened to you, oh, it's like, come on. If there's one group or one ideology or one anything that you cannot even remotely criticize without being cancelled, there's a problem with that ideology. And this is exactly what we saw.
Does that not make us fundamentally lead us down the road of secularism or fundamentalism? So are we not turning around with that statement and turning around and saying, okay, well, if we can't accept that other people are different, we ultimately are secular. Other faiths are different. So does one, okay, here's the question I want to ask you. Much better question. Can a Christian believe in the same God as a Jew? Is the Christian God the same God as the Jewish God?
The Jewish God, the Jews of the Bible shared the same God. However, he came to earth as fully God and fully God as Jesus Christ, the man. And some of those Jews accepted him and embraced him and followed him. And we now refer to those Jews as Christians. And some of the secular people who were called Gentiles at the time also chose to follow him. We now refer to those people as Christians. And so that grafting in of the Gentile with the Jew is God's chosen people. Some of the branches have been set aside because they have rejected the Messiah. And God still has a plan for them. At some point, he's going to bring them back in. We know at the end, every knee will bow. So we know everyone will recognize Christ at the end. But people who reject Christ do not follow the same God as Christians. No, because to Christians, God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And this is what the Bible teaches. Anyone that objectively rejects him is rejecting God.
I think this is a good time for me to bring in a question from the audience. What's one topic? This is from London Lane _media. What's one topic you completely disagree on, but still manage to debate respectfully?
What, with each other?
I'd say it's quite a lot. Like, I was also saying this to Lizzie as well. I was like, temperamentally, Lizzie and I are very different. I'm like, and Lizzie's like, calm. So I'm like, as temperaments, we're totally different, but our values and the things that we feel. So we're able to debate things quite severely if we want to. I mean, we don't spend our lives doing that particularly because, there are other more fun things to do. But I would say that this issue, which, a little part of me, and I know it's what you're saying, I will go away and think about, and I will go, okay, well, he's saying it and he's continuing to say it, therefore you're not a faddish person. I don't think we agree on the Jewish thing, but I do think we're able to talk about it respectfully. And I think everyone should, You're not trying to say to me, I'm fucking right, Laurence, you moron. If only you understood.
It's just politics. And the problem I have with it is that people often bring the faith into the politics and it gets all muddled up and confused. Like, in politics, you can have your own minds. You can believe what you want to believe. But in the faith, that's very black and white. And the two things are different. And they're all separate. And people get confused. But you and I have always had this. We've always been able to sit around and have a smoke and have a drink and have a debate. And at the end of it, we just hug and go our separate ways and then come back to the table the next time. Like, it's fine. I don't understand how other people.
By the way, biggest message in the whole world is you're the only person who has never goaded me on, who has always chastised me when you think I've gone beyond the best that I can be, as a friend I'm talking about, and has always had my best interests at heart. And for that, I am profoundly grateful. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for you for that, because I know that I'm not going to get bullshit from you. And Lizzie knows you're not going to get bullshit from me. And, there's a few private things that you've called out, and she was like, ask Calvin. And I was like, wow, okay. So that's what true relationships are. And that's what the sort of reason, abstractly, the court case was about, which was about going, if we can't talk without me turning around and saying, shut up, N-word. I wish I actually had the confidence to say it, but YouTube would just rip us off. It would be without that confidence to be able to say, you know what, I think this, even if it's a very formed idea, or even if you're trying out an idea, we're dead as a society and we will end up massacring and killing each other. And I think it's so important to set that example. And I'm so grateful to you. You'll notice that WhatsApp group is empty, isn't it?
Yes.
As Lizzie quite rightly pointed out, as she quite rightly pointed out to me this morning, she went, "Oh, you bought a lot of roast dinners for those guys. You cooked a lot of roast dinners for those guys."
Silence is very loud, but thank you. I feel the same. I appreciate you saying it. It's important. And
I'm grateful for your voice in the world. I think that you're courageous, and I think when someone comes to me and goes, "What's Calvin said now?" I'm like, "Shut up," because I'm sure you get it a lot about me, and I'm just like, "Go speak to him about it."
Yeah.
And also,
people would scream with what I've said in this show. You can speak to me about it. That's fine. Like, my views can change, and they're not solid on anything that's not theology. And that's fine to have a debate and disagreement. I think the reason I'm so frustrated with it all is because I see how we're all going like this, and everyone's having to choose, Ukraine or Russia, Brexit or EU, Israel or Palestine. Oh God, what happened? I'm sick of it all. I care about England. I care about America. I care about Christendom. I care about Christ. And I don't want all these distractions all the time. It's horrible.
I think you're you're the riptide in what people feel is the tide going out. And people think it's like the tide is turned. And I hear it a lot from people. And they go, the tide is turned and we're all now going to win. And, we're going to get uncancelled and everything's fine. But you're the riptide underneath going, well, you can still drown on the way out. So just calm down, guys. And to anybody, I want to say from my point of view, to anybody who disagrees or wants to take offense, or wants to send me a WhatsApp or Calvin a WhatsApp saying anything about how we discuss things, we're not going to stop doing this. So we're going to talk like this. And it's really important that we do. So I've got to go to this conference dinner now, because otherwise I'm in, because of the timetable. And I will
send out to Larry and to Lizzie.
I will. And I love you, man. And thank you for being my friend. And that's
I appreciate you.
The most important thing. It's the most important thing. You're the person I would call if I was needed. And the great thing about real friendship is that you don't, maybe some people do, and good for you. But I call you when I really need you, and for that, I will be grateful till my dying day. And I know that you have my back, and I will always have yours. And we should all be allowed to disagree about everything, should we so wish. So I'm really sorry, Jewish people, if you're upset that, we're not totally on your side. And I'm really sorry, Muslim people, if you're upset that we think you're a vile death cult. Not you, Muslim people.
No, I'm not. If you're not on Christ's side, I'm not on your side. I don't care. Shall I say a prayer?
Yes, you should.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Feed us, O Lord, with the living bread, and make us drink deep of the cup of salvation, that following the teaching of thy Bishop Ignatius, and rejoicing in the faith which he embraced the death of a martyr, we may be nourished for that eternal life which he ever desired, through Jesus Christ, thy Son, our Lord, who liveth and reigneth with thee in the unity of the Holy Spirit, ever one God, world without end. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, man. So good to see your face. And I'm me and Lizzie have decided that we're going to do, babe, am I allowed to say? I've got my thought police over there. She's watching telly in the other room. We're going to rent a 2500 GMC 2500. Come and say hi to Calvin. Please come. C- Can you not wave at him? Come on. She's doing her hair. She really likes it down here because the hair gives the humidity gives the hair. We've decided we're going to rent. There's a company where you can rent a truck or it's a truck with I think they call it a gooseneck or a something neck attachment and a little trailer. And we're going to take our honeymoon. We've not taken our honeymoon. And we're going to drive across and make a little documentary about the red states.
Oh,
and
cool.
and we're going to do that for a few weeks. And
That would be amazing.
And it's also affordable because I've been like going, well, I'm Googling, like, what's the difference between a 1500, a 2500, and a 3500? And Larry's like, shut up, it's all about pulling power. And I'm like, well, it seems to be able to take this. And so we're going to do that. We're going to stop in certain places and record stuff and make a little documentary, I think, about the flying in the States.
True. Like I say, I went to Wisconsin the other day. I went to a seminary that is the sister seminary of the one that I trained at. And they pray for us every day, and we pray for them every day. But it was great to be out there, like to go back. You remember when I was there in Oxford? It was the most just intense, stressful time of my life. But I look back on it fondly. So it's nice to go to one that was very similar to it out here in America, but without the pressures of the deadlines and all that stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
Lovely. Driving 4.5 hours down through Illinois, up through Wisconsin, like exploring. I love it.
Many people said at this thing that we said the other day, they said that they really take great heart from our conversations. So, good. And, enjoy the fact that we ramped it up a bit. Well, I'm really sorry. It's called free speech. Deal with it.
People care less about free speech. People care more about, anyway. Shall we thank you for watching?
Yeah. Should we not dig our hole any deeper? Thank you for watching. Thank you for most of all, actually, just a personal message from me. I don't often read comments, but I am very, very grateful for those of you that do comment to me, often in person or, at times I meet you at events or something like that. And I have been so touched by the people that have been so good to me, and I know who my friends are. And so do you, man.
Yeah.
And that's a great lesson in life.
My friendship circle is very small, but I trust them with everything, and that's important.
Yeah, be like Calvin. In a world full of Taylor Swift, be Calvin. No, in a world full of, what's her name? The one that I saw it just as I was about to come on with you. What's that old Spanish lady called? Jennifer Lopez.
Oh yeah, Jennifer.
She was like, it's not that I was unlovable, it was that they were incapable. And I was like, no, babe, you've done 6 husbands. It's your problem. You're the common denominator here.
Was it Ben Affleck who's walking her to the car? Is that?
Oh, that would have been funny. We've got to go. What we're doing is we're giving people false endings over and over again. I love you.
Great for watching. God bless you. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, dude. Love you.